This time on Captain Chaos's laboratory, we're working on the Lemax The Fantastical flying reindeer piece. It's kind of reminiscent to the junior flight school and I think it's a zombie flight school. But there you go, there's the sign. So, problem is that when it's running, it's kind of jerky, and then it doesn't turn off. And it makes a lot of noise. So here we go, watch, here we go. Reindeers are lifting, rotating. You see the jerkiness right there? Right there. So it works. If it was mine, I wouldn't care about the jerkiness, but here's the problem. This is one of those self-resetting pieces. So when you turn off the power, this is the problem. And it will not stop unless I kill power to it. So I have to unplug it. It's easier to unplug it from the wall than it is to reach under the fence to grab this one. Yeah, it's kind of it's recessed under this fence and it's really tight. So if you had a straight one, it'd be easy to just pull straight out. But anyway, that's besides the point. So something in here has failed on the micro switch side. So probably a broken gear or a slipping belt. I'm going to go with a broken gear based on the fact that it's not turning off when it's all the way at the bottom. So first thing we're going to do is when we turn it over, we have 6 pads. Under these 6 pads are 6 screws. So that's where we're going to start. But before I do that, I'm going to grab some of the foam from the box and use it as a holder. There we go. Sorry about all the noise. The owner had this taped into its, the foam pieces taped together, so I had to put the tape off. Like that. Now I got a nifty little holding stand, so I can remove the rubber feet and I get to the screws. Now on some of them, you can just slide the feet over to the side or peel up the edge and then pull them out. And that's what I'm going to try and do with all of these. It makes it easier to glue them back in because they're already adhered. All you got to do is put a little touch-up glue or hot glue on one edge. This piece is 4.5 volts. I don't know the year. I didn't look at it. I can tell you in a minute. It doesn't say on the bottom. It just says Lemax and then made in China, written in 7 different languages. Normally Lemax puts the dates on the box unless it's a porcelain house. And for the porcelain house, it's usually on the bottom underneath the rubber mat. See, she's starting to separate, which is good. you can pull this apart any way you want. If you want to flip it all the way upside down, you can. If you want to remove the feet all the way, doesn't matter. I just found on some of these, they get the feet to line back up in their holes, because sometimes you distort them to the point where you can't tell how they're going to fit. Sometimes you can just, like I said, peel up the edge and then get the screws out. Like so. Alright. Well, let's see, will it come apart now? It will. Alright. Oh, good. They have the sign on its own plug. So I can unplug the sign and remove the base. Perfect. Now, get the base out of the way, we'll have more room. So, here's the bottom. You got 3 screws. Here's your LED track, your speaker, which is going to be a 8 ohm half watt, most likely. This is new enough that everything is hooked together with Molex connectors versus being soldered directly to the board. Except for this board, which controls the light patterns, they're soldered directly to it, to the different light parts. Now on the Octo, Squeeze, and the Junior Flight School, all the ones that are similar, you take the center section off. But this one, looks like you just take the bottom off instead of breaking the center section free. And I might have to, actually, because it looks like it's still stuck. There we go. Yeah, there's a screw in the center, just like the others, so we are going to have to separate the top. Now I just need to see where it separates at. I'm going to plug it in one more time, only for the fact I want to see what lights up in the top here, so I have an idea where the seam may be. And now that I have the cord out, I can just unplug it real fast. So nothing unplugged, nothing lights up in the top. But I can see underneath the house by looking under the doors. So I'm going to turn it back off. And there we go. So I have a seam underneath a couple of these reindeer stalls. Let's see if this will pop free. This is just like the octo swing. This is rubber. So it's hard to try and pry because it's just compressing. So I'm going to use a little hook here and feel underneath the candy cane part and see if it has a separation here. This is always the hard part, is finding the seams Unless there's a hole directly under Santa, because Santa's separate too. Let's see, will Santa pop off? There's a hole, I can get a screwdriver down inside and take it apart. This appears to be one casting. The reindeer and Santa are glued on to the outside, same with the trees. I can see all the glue. I was hoping it was old enough or brittle enough it'd break right free, but it's not. So try something a little bit more persuasive, and if that doesn't work, we'll grab the heat gun. I'm going to try Santa first. I'm hoping there's a hole that goes straight down to the screw. Because I don't want to get this too close to this white. This white is rubber or plastic. It's really pliable. And if it is glued there, the heat would distort this. It's the same principle as the Octo Swing. The Octo Swing was the same way. You had to watch your heat because the tentacles in the base were that rubbery stuff. And that rubbery stuff is more susceptible to heat deformity than the plastic. Most of the gaps are on both sides of his legs and in between them. The back has a really good glue joint all the way across the back of his coat. So I just try to get some heat into the area where there's excess. One's a little narrower, but wider. Okay. Santa's really glued down. Let me try down here one more time. Since I got a different screwdriver. Okay, it is going to be the bottom that separates. These trees are attached to the white, but I did notice that there's a couple of spots where they are touching and glued, so we're going to make sure those are separated. Come on. Oh, it is really glued to this rubbery stuff. I see it now. I have it up enough. So what I'm doing with the screwdriver is I'm pulling the white rubber off the bottom of the barn, I guess. That way I don't tear the rubber. Did he ever do a good job of gluing this one down? Holy smokums. If you have this piece and you have to do this, I would recommend not using a hard glue, because you know it's probably going to fail again. I recommend using hot glue, and only on the edge, not all the way across. This is crazy. Another option you have, if this is yours, is just cutting the white rubber as you lift it, which kind of what's happening. I'm tearing it down, but at the same time it is cutting a little bit. Get in here with an X-Acto knife, which I'm going to have to do because I can't get one section free. Now, as I rotate this, I am lifting it. That way I don't catch the power port on anything. I know it sounds like it's having dragging issues. It's dragging on the cords. Every time I turn it, I lift it just enough off the bench that it's not dragging the bottom. Not that it matters. The bottom is, as you saw with the 3 screws, it's just a solid piece of plastic. Alright, one. Yeah, I can't even get the X-Acto in there. There we go. Alright. Well, that's a pain. So you can see the 2 pieces. Well, I thought it was 1, but there's 2 sections I couldn't get. So I trimmed it with the scraping blade of an X-Acto. You can use an angled cutter too, it'll do the same thing. But you can see how much glue they use. It's all glue. I mean, that is an excessive amount. That's crazy amount of glue for this. And I don't see any screws. get this out of the way. I'm not sure how they mounted this centerpiece. Unless this is a cap they glued over the axis, which would be really stupid. The axis should have been right here in the center. And it's just a blind hole, there's nothing in there. So, since I can see through the holes, let me see if any of this has movement. Trying to see if there's any screws on the sides. Well, this one has me stumped. How do they put this one together? I can see one of the gearboxes right here. It looks okay. This gearbox looks okay. Nothing obvious, but I can only see one edge of the gears. I can't see them all. I can't see the belt because the belt's on top. There's a circuitry. See, we have a circuitry ring on there. There's an access disc on the bottom here. It looks like it, unless it's just a casting. Let's see if it pops out. I'm looking at is this right here. It looks like it might pop out, but it's glued in like everything. It would be kind of weird to be screwed in from the bottom, but it's possible. So that's just a mat-6 disc, which landed on the floor. I can see the tip of the screw, so it is screwed in from the top. So this white housing comes off, and it's underneath the white housing. Yeah. So looking in from the bottom, I'll turn upside down one more time. You can kind of see. Oh, let me try a flashlight. You see it's got 4 segments in the center hole. The center hole has the tip of the screw, the part where the threads start, and the 4 segments have this color blue plastic right there inside, which means the screw is going through the blue plastic, so it's under this, so this white piece comes off somehow. So now I have to figure out how to take this white cap off. This is a process, because you know it's glued on and you can't get anything underneath it to pry because it's the shape. I don't know why they have this there. It's just extra plastic. It's not doing anything important. Oh, that's so you don't have a hole in the bottom of your piece. I just looked at the base. This ring sticks out of the bottom, and that's so you can't see up the side. It's a beauty thing. I bet you if they didn't use it, it'd probably save them, you know, a penny. But now we gotta figure out how to get this cap off. Nope. So underneath here, you can see little castings, and I'm trying to get in between to see if I can get any leverage. Like here's a spot that's deep that I can get a little leverage on. I'm just poking in between the castings looking for a hole. So I was wondering if there's a screw. There's another hole. That's not a hole. So I can only find 2 holes. There's a hole right here, but it's right on top of the bar, of course. So I don't know how I'm going to get into it. There we go. It's right offset of the bar. Looks like the holes might be just to the left of each one of these bars. So these are one here. Or is it every other bar? It's every other bar. So I can shove this whole thing up inside, but I'm not getting any movement. I really don't want to get this thing too hot because of the type of material it is, but I might have to actually heat it up. I wish this rubber cap wasn't glued on. I would peel it off and I could see better, but it's glued all the way around except for where I was able to get this underneath it and get it to separate. But as much as I don't want to, I'm going to turn the temperature down a little bit. Just lowered it 50 degrees. That's in Celsius. So I was doing this, I was just heating up the edge to peel where the hole is to see if there is a screw that maybe comes in. There's nothing there. Now I'm trying to get the heat to go under the edge, and I'm just rotating it to try and not have it warp and heat more evenly. I don't know how this is going to work, but we're going to find out here in just a second. Alright, I'm going to have to study this because we're already, 36 minutes in and all I've gotten is the bottom off and the top. I'm going to have to figure out how this comes off. I'm changing its shape a little, which I'm trying to avoid, but there's got to be an easier way to remove this white cap to get to the screw in the bottom. Also, there's some alignment pins. I'm assuming they're just, yeah, they're just for this white cap to make sure you put it on the right way. That's what these two dots are right there. It's just for this rubber piece. I'd really like to try and get this rubber piece off, because that's what I'm afraid of destroying. But the hook is trying to dig through as I pull it along to separate the glue. I am going to study this a little closer and try and figure out how to get this piece off. Instead of wasting all this time, I'm going to pause it for a moment and figure it out, and then I'll be right back. Okay, the only way I can figure to do this, and this is how I'm doing it, is I'm peeling this up as I'm getting it hot. So I can just get to the white plastic underneath. It's toasty hot. So I'm just breaking the glue free with the heat gun and using the pressure of peeling this back. I did take the tip off, so that way I have a broader spectrum of heat. So I'm less likely to damage the material. Yeah, I've been studying this thing and I don't know. I'm assuming this is how you do it. So I went around this a dozen times with the heat gun like this to help soften it. There we go. Now we're to the white plastic. Okay, now I can see better. Looks like there's clips that are also glued straight through, so you might have to remove this, or you can just cut it. Like I was saying, trim that. Looks like there might be 4 clips. That's what I was pressing on with the pick. But let me see if I can get them from the top now. Let's try the screwdriver. No, those aren't clips. That's just blue with a lot of glue. And I also wrapped the cord underneath the reindeer so it stopped getting caught in everything. So that's one other thing I did to make it a little easier. Can I get this in to any of these 4? when this is apart, I'm going to see if there's an easier way to deal with this in the future. So I have a gap on one of the 4. Let me see if I can get this in that gap. Nope, I cannot get it in the gap. I got that one in the gap. Let's see, will it flex? Nope, just pop right out. Well, let's see, I'll try twisting it and seeing if I can just break the glue, see if that gives me any movement. Okay, that gap's a lot bigger now. Let's try this one. I don't remember a reindeer named Speedy. Apparently that one's called Speedy. That one says Prancer, this one says Cupid, Vixen, Dasher, Comet. I could be wrong, but I don't remember that one from the song. Okay, let's see if I can get it in this one. That's in. Let's see, will it separate this glue? Not all of it, but some of it. Trying to see if I could turn the screw backwards and unscrew it from the bottom. No. Because that would work too, because once it unscrews I could separate it without worrying about damaging all these reindeer. Because I can't get this glue to separate. I'm thinking about drilling a hole in the center. I really am. I have a drill bit already chucked up. Let's see what happens. See if I can find the center. Went nice and slow. I was able to stop it before it hit anything below. And of course I can't see. I don't see anything in there. Hole's not that big. Because if there is a screw here, I was going to drill the hole out anyway to gain access to the screw to make it easier for the future. Need a slightly bigger drill bit for this. Hey, I see the screw. Definitely not long enough. That it is, I just need the Phillips version. Here's one. So I'm going to tell you, if you have this piece, don't fight with it, because you can leave that rubber cap on and just drill a hole in the center. Should have just done this 20 minutes ago. Look at that. Yeah, so if you have this piece, you need to take it apart, and you got to this point at frickin' 40 minutes in, just drill a hole. Just, no joke, just drill a hole. Okay, so now we'll flip her over. And just so I know which one goes where, I'm going to mark. Oh, they're all different colors. Actually, do I even need to? Yeah, I probably don't need to. Let me just plug it in as it is, upside down, and let's get this out of the way. See what is failing up here. Now we have access. And yeah, this is the exact same setup as the other rotating airplane and octo rides. The belts are, yeah. Okay, let's see if the micro switch is engaged like they're supposed to. So this is going to rotate back. That's the problem, it sees it. Get rid of the ring. The problem is that the micro switch sheared the plastic pins off that hold it in place. So when it goes to turn this off, it's just pushing it out of the way. That's it. Where's that power? I'm just going to manually manipulate it with my finger. So that's what it does. This one's turning off that one. I'm going to turn the power off. And then I'm going to is it going to stop? Oh, maybe the micro switch is also broken. Nope, it's not. It worked. One more time. not stopping like it's supposed to. Bad micro switch. So what I'm doing is I'm shorting the two leads to imitate that it's closed. I'm going to turn it back on again. So it broke and it damaged the micro switch from bouncing around inside. Should get 2 new belts. They're okay, but this one's got some play in it. It's vibrating. This one's okay as far as it's not vibrating. So, click. Let it run, thinking that it's doing its thing, and now... So we need a micro switch and we need to make new standoffs. Now, there's a few ways to do this. The micro switch has a hole in it. It's got 2 plastic pins that come out of the base here that are sheared. This one's still intact, and most plastic pins are sheared off. So you can find 2 small thin screws, drill holes right where the micro switch goes, and then screw it right into the plastic so the hole has to be smaller than the screw. Or you can super glue it, or you can hot glue it, or you can do a combination of all of the above. There is no other way to replace this unless you have a matching plate to fix where the pins are broke. So if you can kind of tell, I'm going to tip her into the light there. I'm going to zoom in. Sometimes the camera's too far away and you can't see. Where's the zoom? So, there's one broken pin. There's the other. The pins are still stuck inside this micro switch. Right there. Right there, clear. You can see where they're peened over. They're fatter on this side. Is because they stick up through and then they melt them over, which is what they did to this one. See? Here's the clear pin, the clear pin. This one's still good. It's still, and you hear the click. It's got that nice audible click. Almost nothing. So what I do is I just connect the 2 there, and that thinks it turned off. So it needs a micro switch and a plate repair. I'm gonna zoom back out. Find the zoom. Hey, first try, right direction. So now we know what the problem is. And then, like I said, looking at the belts, this one's, they're both good. Probably should replace them since I'm in here. This one just vibrates. Maybe it vibrates just the way the gears are. So the gears look okay. They sound okay. I didn't hear any clacking, clunking, crunching. I am going to check them out though. I am going to do a closer inspection. Because the ones that usually crack is the one on the bottom side of this pulley, and then this guy over here that drives, which is the impossible gear as it's been called. So let's just rotate and inspect these gears. Also, when you rotate and inspect them, if you use your finger and not the motor, I know the last gear takes forever because it has to go through all these revolutions to make these 2 rotate. But you'll feel it. If you find if there's a crack or a chipped tooth, you'll feel it in your finger besides seeing it. Oh, I know why this belt has a wobble. It's because this pulley is bent. Or it's a bad casting. The pulley's wobbling on the motor. So yeah, we need a micro switch. All the gears appear to be fine. I don't feel anything and I don't see nothing. So micro switches like this you can sometimes find online. Usually I just get them out of parts houses. It makes it easier because they're the right size. So So I'm going to go search for a micro switch, and then we're going to fix this. Get it back together so we can go back to its owner. And then again, if you have this piece, drill a hole in it. Don't waste 30 minutes doing what I did. So, alrighty, I'll be back in a moment with some parts. Alright, I'm back. So, new micro switch that has an audible click. I wanted to show you, since the other one I took it out of is a broken piece, those are what those two plastic studs look like that fit through here and hold it in place. Just scrape the tops off with the razor knife to pull this off. It's already broken, I just need to pull it off because I need to stick it to that. So, how I'm going to fix it is I'm going to, I checked all my screws. I don't have a screw small enough that will go all the way through. I have small enough screws, but they're not long enough. So the long ones are too fat and the thin ones are too short. So I'm going to double glue it, meaning I'm going to adhere it in place with super glue and using the sheared pieces to help align it. And then once the super glue is cured, I'm going to use hot glue and build up a massive reinforcement, which is how some of the pieces came from the factory. Wrong side. Gotta clean this side. So I'm just using 99% isopropyl alcohol. You don't have to use 99%, just use 91 or higher. 70 is too watery. You want to make sure your surfaces are nice and clean with any residue, or else you won't get any adhesion. And you can also use a hard resin glue, which will hold it pretty much forever, but then you have the problem if it ever breaks to take it back apart again. You'll end up breaking the plate, kind of like that piece. That wasn't broken because that was broken because the unit was dropped and it sheared. So. I want to say it's the Graveyard Party that uses micro switches, and they don't use the plastic stakes. What they do is they just encase the entire thing in hot glue. So we're going to do the same thing-ish. I'm not going to encase the whole thing in hot glue. I'm going to build up a sea of hot glue around it like a bunker to help hold it in place once the super glue cures. But in the meantime, I can test this micro switch. I tested it by listening for the audible click that this one's lacking. This one's really weak too, and make sure that it actually engages. So give it a couple seconds because it knows it has to turn so far. And then there you go. But see, there's a problem. It stays shut. And that's because it turned on me. It fell off the other piece. Let's try this one more time. I'm going to have to let this glue cure before I go to the next step. There we go. That's how it knows to turn this one on and then this one, because I haven't even touched this micro switch yet. So if I hit that one, it stops. But that's how it knows it's got a timing chip. All right, let's try and hold this in place, and I'm just going to use a tool so I can hold it with one hand, and done. And if you notice, neither one of them are engaged, and it's not turning back on. It's not like some of them that when you disconnect the turn off feature, it turns back on. This, I think one of the flight schools is the same way, or the zombie squeeze. When you hit the micro switch and it disengages this relay, that's it. It's over, even if it comes apart. There are a couple that don't, because they don't have a full relay. They run a microchip or a micro circuit. So they have a little chip that controls it instead of a mechanical relay. I like the mechanical relay because I can hear it. So when I press this, I can hear this click. When I press this, I can hear this disengage or click. And these are a dime a dozen. So if that fails, you can replace it. But to give you an example, the Roundabout doesn't use these. They use a microchip to make it go up and down on the micro switches. And when it fails, it burns out that microchip, and then you don't have your lift, generally, is what fails. You got your rotate, you just don't have the up and the down. But on the Ghost Around, they use a relay. So if it burns out, just pop a new relay in. All the relays are labeled, and they're cheap. They're like $5 for 24, because they come in packages, massive packages, so you have lots of spares. Or if you have some broken pieces, you can find these. They're easily located. This one is rated up to, I think it's a 16 volts DC. 6 volts DC, sorry, it's a colon. 3 amp. It can handle up to 220 volts AC across it. The coil, the switch is 6 volts DC max. So the 4.5 volts is not a problem telling you to turn on and off. And then it costs the connection, it can do up to 220. So 220 main and 6 volts switched. If you've never seen a relay, they have a coil and you have to disengage the coil and re-engage the coil. So I'm going to let this cure, because for some reason this stuff doesn't cure as fast as the other bottle did. I'm not sure why, but it's got a cure. So while it cures, I'm going to see if I have if it's the bad pulley or if it's got a bent armature and why this one wobbles. I'm also going to find my little belts and probably swap those out real quick. Once it's cured, and I know that it won't move anymore on its pad, yeah, I can still move the back of it. So once I know that it's solid, I'll build it up with some hot glue and we'll reassemble. And hopefully it'll work like it's supposed to. Oh, sorry again, I'm going to have to pause it again while we wait for this to complete its process. Okay, we're back. Let's get this thing finished up. So this is nice and cured, and this is heating, so we can put a little extra reinforcement around it, and it clicks beautifully. While I was letting this cure, I noticed that the reason the one says Speedy on the Reindeer is because it's not Rudolph. I think it's because Rudolph is copyrighted by some fashion, and the other ones aren't. So we have all the Reindeer, and then Rudolph is replaced by Speedy, which, okay. But anyhow, so even with a new pulley, it wobbles a little. I think the pulleys are just not centered, or the motor has a bend, possibly from this sliding out of alignment. I don't think so, but it's probably just a defect casting in the actual armature. It's not going to affect it. It's not going to do any major issues. This is not heating up fast. I've had it on before I turned the camera on. So anyhow, belts and a micro switch, good to go. As far as this, if I can find them, I will link them below. The micro switches that I normally use for my job, because my job also uses micro switches, they're much larger. So they're about the same setup with 3 posts, but they're probably about an inch, inch and a quarter long, while these are half an inch at the most. So they're 2 to 2.5 times bigger. They're fatter. They would technically work if you could make them fit in here, but I'm going to see if I can find the smaller micro switches. Hey, there we go. And if I can, I'll put them below. So I'm going to put a little hot glue into the grooves on the one side, and then, so this is what I talk about building it up. I'm basically taking what's left of the clear plastic base and making a glue ridge to help reinforce this micro switch so it doesn't get pushed off. Technically the super glue, or in the case I'm using Gorilla Glue, should be plenty. But a little extra just to ensure. Now it's time for reassembly. So the 3 wings for these screws are not equidistant. But the easiest way to remember if you take it apart is the circuit board is opposite the motor, or the 2 humps for the motor are right next to the speaker. There we go. I'm going to put a dab of hot glue on this to hold it. I'm surprised it doesn't have any, because most of them do. But this is supposed to sit in here into its little boss, and it's supposed to be so it doesn't fall out, because putting it back together can be kind of difficult if it keeps falling out on you, especially since I got to flip it back over and take care of it. And what also surprises me is that this doesn't have any strain relief. And usually they'll put a knot or a zip tie in there to prevent the wire from getting pulled. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put a little bead of hot glue right against the outside edge. And then I'm going to put a little bead right here. So what that's going to do is when it dries, or cools, you know, for both, it can be pushed in, but it can't be pulled out, and that's where the strain relief comes into play. We'll also hold the wire in. Get rid of the dirt and dust. There we go. Lay them off a little bit. I got it to start and then it fell off. So let's take a look inside and see where my screw is. There we go. See? Good to go. Just realized I forgot the internals. So this was just a practice run. I'm so excited to get it back together. I forgot the part that makes it go up and down and actually turns the unit off, which is that finger sticking on the edge of that gear. Not a problem though. That's a quick fix. This is the same way. The three fingers are not the same distance away from each other. So unless you remember how you took it out or you marked it, you'll have to play with it, get it to line back up. So it's not that direction. Let's rotate it 1/3. Not that one, so 1 more third. No, I think it was the other one. Yeah, it was the second one. I just missed the pin. And I'm using my thumb on the edge to hold it in until I can get the set down. Technically, the fit on those pins is snug enough to hold it. Make sure none of the wires are underneath the screw holes. Let's do this one more time. There we go. And there we go. Good to go. Pretty much can't screw it up. Your speaker lines up the holes, which also allows you to plug the sign back in. Luckily it has some bars that kind of help guide it into place, so you're centered up onto the holes for the screws. Now, just need to peel the foot back again. There we go. And flatten it back out. I go to the opposite side. I want to test it, but I want to make sure that the base doesn't rotate or wobble inside of itself, so that way the inner base doesn't jump out of the outer bases standoffs. There we go. So now, basically back together for testing. And let's see if it works. I had to realign. I didn't have that gear on all the way, or all the way against one of the two sides. Still jerky though. I'm not sure why. So that's working. So now it turns off. Alright, well, I guess I'll be opening it back up to try and figure out what the jerkiness is, because that's kind of interesting. I wonder if it's a power thing. Without the sound, I can hear the motors going. Roar, roar. Or it's a bad motor. Alright, well, I will, not on camera, I'm going to open it back up and check. It's probably a bad motor. If you watched any of the videos I've done, I've replaced hundreds of them. So it's not too terribly hard on this one. As you saw, you pull that back off and take the bottom out. That's why I didn't put all the screws in. And I'm going to see if it's the motor, the spin motor. Because the lift motor just lifts it and turns off. That's what the micro switches are for. But the spin motor, to see why it's still jerky. See what's going on. Maybe the belt's too tight. Maybe I need a one size larger belt. We're going to find out. So I'll be back when it's completed, so you can see what this thing looks like, hopefully running without the surge, unless it's a voltage issue, which I'll check the voltage to see if it surges up and down. And then we'll do it in low light, so you can see the fancy lights and the lit sign. So I'll return in just a moment. Okay, we're back. I've opened it again. I put another belt on it. I still does the jerky thing. I checked the motor. Motor is good. Stalls when it's supposed to. It's not overamping. So I just checked the power. And the power going to the motor fluctuates. It goes up and down, up and down, up and down. And I'm like, oh, that's why it's jerky. So the power coming off the circuit board is not smooth. So it's not a constant. It's not even 4.5 volts. It's like 3.6. But it goes 3.8, 3.4, 3.6, 3.8, 3.4. And that's why it's jerky, is the motor slowing down. So I did clean off all the old grease and re-lubricate the entire thing when I had it open, thinking maybe that was part of the problem. It's a little smoother, but it's still jerky. So there's not much I can do about that, unfortunately. And then I don't want to tip it too much because it's tough on the mechanism, but the sign's pretty much just all white. You can't really see it. Wait, I know a way that you can see it. I've got to add light to compensate for the light. See? Oh, it sounds stupid. You need to add light to compensate for the light. So it works like it's kind of supposed to. I don't like the jerkiness, but no matter what I do, it doesn't seem to change. But look, it turns off and it does go clunk, 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 clunk. So it just needs a micro switch and a reinforced housing. Recap: if you need to take this thing apart, remove the pads or peel them to the side and remove the 6 screws on the bottom. Once you do that, The center section lifts out and you unplug the sign, and then remove the center section by sliding this underneath the railing and get out of your way. Then you have to pop off the house, look around the edges, you'll see a gap, and start prying it up. And then as it lifts, you'll have to poke through the rubber to get it to separate. You might even have to use an X-Acto knife or a razor knife of some sort to get in there and take care of it. Once you do that, you can try and break the white disc off and unscrew the center screw, or just take a 1/4-inch drill bit and drill out that hole in the center. It'll save you frickin' ever, as you saw in mine. Pull that off, set it aside. Flip her over, remove the 3 screws, turn it over, careful the wires are still plugged in for the lights that go around the inner and outer ring. And then fix whatever needs to be fixed, whether it's a belt, a motor, or plural, belts and motors, gear or gears, or in the case of this, a broken micro switch. And if you have one from a parts piece, I always recommend keeping parts pieces because you never know what you need out of them. You can gut them and throw away the shell if you don't want to take up the extra space. Sometimes you can find them on Amazon. Like I said, if I find one on Amazon, I'll stick it below, but I've never been able to find those small ones, or they're not readily easy to find. And then reassemble. Just reverse the order of what you did. I would recommend hot glue to reassemble everything versus super glue, but it's personal preference. It's just because everything breaks, which means that if it failed once, it's going to fail again. All I did was replace some belts and a motor, which it didn't need apparently, and a micro switch, which it did need. So there's still another motor, and there's stacks of gears in here that it can and will eventually fail. Especially because this is a display that's put out every year. If somebody comes and puts their finger and stops the reindeer from going, it puts stress on the gears. You might break an arm, probably not, but those gears, that's usually what you'll break. So the only thing left I have to do is flatten this puck back out and glue it on the bottom. It's kind of warped, which is easy. I'm just going to get it hot, put something heavy on it, let it sit till it cools, then I'm going to glue it back in the bottom, and then it is ready to go back to its owner. So that's all. So hopefully this helps you if you have this piece as far as getting it open to repair it. So if you do have the Fantastical Flying Reindeer by Lemax, then hopefully this helped you out. Sorry, the video is almost an hour and a half long, but sometimes you got to see how I try and figure out how to get things apart, give you an idea how you can do your own at home, whether it's this piece or a different piece I don't have a video of. I only have 100 and some odd videos, and there's thousands of miniature villages out there. Miniature village pieces. So it doesn't matter what manufacturer, they're pretty similar. Plastic ones are more forgiving than the ceramics. I mentioned that a lot, but it's personal preference on what you collect. Ceramics you got to be a little bit more delicate with because, well, if you knock it off your bench, table, wherever you're working on it, it's going to be like Humpty Dumpty. It's going to be broken. Whereas plastic, normally if this fell off my bench, you might break the railing, possibly the sign when I have the base separated, but you can usually reattach plastic a lot easier, and color matching is usually a little easier on the plastics. So anyhow, thanks for watching. Till the next one.